Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. In this video, we're going to be talking about a new striker linked to Leeds United. His name is Demirovic and he plays for Stuttgart. I know there's been a lot of fan theory in the fan base about Demirovic. Well, he actually has been linked now. Kicker reported this morning that there is a link there to Demirovic. I think the actual first report came out last night and there's obviously been aggregators as well reporting it this morning. So yeah, that's a really interesting one to look into. A Bosnian striker, 27. We're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to have updates as well from Khannouss and Justin. Now, I am a bit sick of talking about Khannouss, so I won't bore you to death with Khannouss news, because the truth is, he ain't probably coming, if we're being totally honest. It probably ain't going to happen. I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have happened by now, but there has been an update from David Ornstein on that we probably should talk about, so that's, that's what we're going to do. And then there's also been a bit of an update on James Justin, and importantly with James Justin, he is in the Leicester lineup today, and I do believe he's actually the captain of the Leicester team today. Khannouss, for anyone that cares as well, he's also in the Leicester lineup. But yeah, James Justin in the Leicester lineup, captain. Well, it makes you think, is the talks actually as advanced as they looked like they were yesterday when we had the likes of Alex Crook reporting it, when we had the likes of Ben Jacobs reporting it, all saying Leeds were really close to getting a deal over the line with James Justin. So we're going to talk about that as well, because where's that going to be at if he's starting and being captain? And potentially slightly worried about that one. But no, I've still got full faith. I think that one will happen. But yeah, let's get on with the video. Before we do though, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, massively helps the channel and massively helps people who also enjoy this sort of content to find it and be able to consume it. And also shout out to you guys as well, because yesterday's video got something like 1,800 views, which is ridiculous from like my 5th video. So yeah, thank you for all the support there. Hopefully we can do it again. I mean, that would be fantastic. But yeah, let's get into the news and start with Demirovic, who is a Bosnian striker, 27 years old, and he's got, and in terms of his goal scoring record, it looks pretty good. But this was reported by Kicker, of course. Kicker, as an outlet, they're not tier 1, if we're being totally honest. They're probably tier 2. They're not a bad outlet. Like they don't just blatantly lie a lot of the time. But they're not like an unbelievable. It's not like David Ornstein's reporting it, if we're being totally honest. So potentially we do need to set this story with a pinch of salt. Other thing to mention around this story as well, which is really important, is that apparently Stuttgart do want around the €40 million mark, and the reported fee that Leeds United are at for this edition is around the €20 million mark. So quite a big chunk in valuation off. I mean, it's 50% less that Leeds are offering Stuttgart currently. So if Leeds United will ever get to that fee, is something to bear in mind. But in terms of Demirovic as a player, this is a player that's really clinical. He's outperformed his XG for a number of years now. He recently transferred, or a few years transferred from Augsburg to Stuttgart for about the £1 million mark. So since then, his stock's gone sort of through the roof. And that is because back-to-back 15 goal seasons in the Bundesliga, which is no mean feat, by the way. I think that put him in like the 4th or 5th top scorer last season in the Bundesliga. So yeah, he's a pretty decent player. The likes of Elise, who won player of the season last year, or I think had the most goal contributions, still didn't score as many goals as Demirovic did. So yeah, quite an interesting one. In terms of a profile with Demirovic, he's more in line with the sort of Perot profile as opposed to like the Calvert-Lewin profile. He's not really a hold-up, big, powerful striker. He is 6 foot tall, but that's not his game. He's more someone who likes to drop in and link up the play. That's his game, really. So in terms of Leeds United would want that in the team, we've obviously opted for Calvert-Lewin in terms of like a sort of a big sort of hold-up, powerful striker. If you want the option of a Demirovic as well, who can do the link-up, I think that's a question mark. But that's going to depend on what sort of thing that Daniel Farke will want. And I think this sort of brings into a wider conversation, which is something I have been slightly concerned about. And not because I don't want Demirovic. I think he'd be a really decent addition for Leeds United. And I know a lot of people, as I said, in the Leeds fan base have been banging the drum of Demirovic for a few weeks now. But what does concern me slightly is what was basically when this was all mentioned, and we've seen tweets from, I think, Graham Smythe reporting this. We've definitely seen stuff in The Athletic about this, that Leeds United are looking for opportunities in the market. Now that's fantastic, and I get why we're doing that, because the players we're aiming for are not always they're not always wanting to come. Like Khannouss is an example, opportunity in the market potentially, but he doesn't want to come, and that's what we're looking at to get them sort of caliber 1 signings that Leeds United are going for. They almost have to be opportunities, and they can't be exactly what we want. My only worry to this is you've got to get the profiles that the team desires and needs. And I don't know if this sort of scattergun approach of going for this player because he's available at a good price and he's not wanted by that club, or this player because he's available and not wanted by that club, is a good idea. Like, I look at the sort of the profiles of the players that we're going for, and it seems so scattergun, and it makes me wonder if Daniel Farke and Leeds United actually know what sort of profiles they're looking for. Because if you're looking at sort of like Lodis, like we were the other day, as you can see on a list of Paninthiakos. How can I not say that word? I've said it so many times in my life, but I never seem to say it, but I say it on videos, so there you are. But if we're looking at a striker like that, who's a sort of more powerful in the Calvert-Lewin mould, and then you're looking at Demirovic as well, who's a completely different profile, I don't know, it just screams like we don't know what we want to do. And again, this approach, I understand why we're going for the approach of sort of looking at players that are opportunities in the market. I get that. Because as I said, with Leeds United in the current climate, maybe when we get to where Forest are, where we're sort of competing in the Europa League and stuff like that, maybe we can be a bit more sort of like selective at who we're going for. But because we are where we are currently, I think we are struggling to be as selective as we'd like to be to get them top players. Which I think is something to bear in mind, because sometimes I do feel that maybe you're better going down a calibre in terms of you're not getting the tier 1 level players in principle. You're getting tier 2 level players, but you might get someone who actually fits your team better and fits the system better. Because as I said, there's just opportunities in the market. I think it's a wide comment, and I don't actually wonder. I just wonder. I've mentioned this before on a video. It just seems to me like we almost don't know what we want, and we're just getting whatever we can get at times. And I'm not saying Demirovic is a bad signing. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying any of that, because I don't actually think any of that's true. I think he's a good player. This is a guy that's banged 15 goals in the last 2 seasons. I mean, last season he banged 15 goals in 20 starts. Yes, he played 34 games, but 20 starts. He was going at 0.73 minutes per goal, which put him in like the 87th percentile. So yes, this guy scores goals, and he's a great finisher. As I said, overperforming his XG for the last few seasons now. But when you're jumping from different profile of striker constantly, I don't know. I think for me, I'd almost rather us go, this is the profile we're looking for. This is our number 1 target. This is our number 2 target. This is our number 3 target, X, Y, and Z. And then just go down and pick people who actually fit your profiles, rather than going, oh, well, we like a profile like this, but we'll accept this, then we'll accept that. And it just seems a bit scattergun. That's my only thing. But people might disagree. People might go, you better get in someone who's not a profile that's as important, but he's a better caliber player, than going for the correct profile. I hope I've summarised that as well as I can. But that's something I want to bear in mind. But in terms of, as I said, in terms of back to sort of leaning back towards Demirovic as a player, I do like him. I think he could add a lot to this United team, and I think he would come in as probably our starting striker. Probably come in as well in terms of probably the best finisher at the club. We know Pero's a really strong finisher, but I do think Demirovic is probably that step above him. And yes, they're similar profiles, but he's just a better version. In terms of his weaknesses, though, he's sort of from when I've looked into the sort of the statistical side of the game, his winning of possession in the final third is pretty poor. It was last year. It actually hadn't been in previous years, but last year it was particularly poor, which put him in something like the 8th percentile for possession won in the final sort of third, which is not particularly great. It would suggest that his press is not quite what we'd potentially want. So there's question marks around this signing. And the thing with this signing as well is that, as I said, they're looking for apparently 40 million euros. We're currently looking at about the 20 million euro mark. Is that something that's going to be a sort of bridge, and we're going to get to a point? It would require Leeds to go up probably at least 10 million euros probably, and of course probably the same with Stuttgart as well. So I think there is question marks this signing. My feeling is, as you can see obviously on my right hand side, in the signing scale, he has made it, Demirovic. But I've got him at a 2 currently out of 5. So about 4, I think there's a 40% chance is what I'm saying for him coming. I think probably slightly less actually, but obviously I can only do 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. So, got to bear in mind with that. But yeah, he's currently at 2. So that is the update anyway around Demirovic. Really interesting one. Probably would class, I would say, as a statement addition for Leeds United if we do get it over the line, which would be fantastic. My feeling is it probably won't happen though. But let's see how this develops. Let's see if other journalists get involved. Let's see if we get Ornstein, Cross, these sort of people getting involved in these transfers. Because the other players on this list, the likes of James Justins, the likes of Okafors, have been mentioned by these tier 1 outlets. So let's just see how it develops with Demirovic. But yeah, definitely an interesting one, and definitely something potentially to look at. Now it's the dreaded one. We've had a nice bit of talk about Demirovic, a nice little change. it's been fantastic. Talking about a Bosnian, talking about a striker, talking about someone different. Fantastic. Moving on to Khannouss, a guy who quite clearly, in my opinion, doesn't want to come to Leeds United. And I think I've sort of been hanging on to the fact that he might do at the end of the window. And I still sort of believe that. Just because of what we've heard from the Leicester Live, obviously on the Leicester side, and what we've heard of Graham Smythe, that he would actually be interested in coming to Leeds. But my feeling is, to be honest, that we're just so far down the pecking order. I think it's time to move on with Khannouss. I really like the player. He'd be, of all the players we're linked with on the right-hand side of my screen, he's the one that I want, of all of them. I just don't think it's going to happen, though, unfortunately, which is disappointing. Basically, the update, because I should have given you at the start, is that David Ornstein has said this morning that Eze looks like he's going to go to Spurs. He looks like he's pushing that move, and the replacement they're looking at Crystal Palace is of course Khannouss. Now it looks like the fee that they're looking at is around the 20 million mark, and I think obviously with these release clauses ending now and that not existing, they're looking for more like 30 million plus at Leicester. So we'll have to see how that develops. But I don't know. I think if Khannouss wanted to come to Leeds, he'd be in a Leeds shirt now. I think Leeds would have progressed this deal if it was there to do. I think the fact that they haven't suggests to me that he probably didn't really want to come. And there's also reports been in the last sort of 24 hours as well that he'd actually be all right staying at Leicester. So again, my opinion, Khannouss, good player, but time to move on. I think that deal is probably dead in the water, which is a real shame because I think he would have been a really nice pickup for us. And I still think, like I mentioned on yesterday's video, I'm not going to go into detail again. If you want to watch that video, there'll be a link at the end of that pops up on the screen that you can click to go and check that out. I basically talked about the need for a number 10, and I think we do need a number 10 massively for a number of reasons. But yeah, an Khannouss would have fit that perfectly, but obviously that isn't going to happen. Anyway, let's move on to James Justin, someone that I was really positive about yesterday. I think this is a fantastic addition. I think he's exactly what we need. 99 appearances in the Premier League, like I mentioned yesterday. Can play at right back, can play at left back, can play at centre back in a back three. Done that for England. He's played for England. He's got a pretty good injury record. Yes, he's had some big injuries in his career, but nothing that's a constant reoccurring hamstring injury, for example, like Calvert-Lewin, like I mentioned yesterday. So bang up for the signing of James Justin. But surprisingly, even all of that being said, I still think he's going to sign him. I haven't moved my figure in my signing scale. He's still at a 4 out of 5 chance, I believe, in my opinion. I do think he's going to sign for Leeds United this summer. But there has been a bit of a sort of blockage in the way, which is that I believe he's captain for Leicester. He's definitely playing for Leicester, but I believe he's also captaining the team as well. If you look at that from an outsider's perspective, if we're being totally honest, that doesn't look like he's in advanced negotiations to come to Leeds. Now, there is other sides of this, and there is other situations where this happened before. I remember when Rutter went to Brighton, he actually played that night, and we heard a few hours later that he was going to Brighton. So I think that can happen at times. But to captain him as well, if that is the case, I don't know, it's just quite clearly not as advanced as I thought. I still think it's going to get over the line. I still have full belief that this deal will be done. I still really like the deal. But yeah, it's quite... I think if he was going to join today, he wouldn't be playing, would he? Is my feeling. But yeah, that's my feeling around James Justin. But still really positive about it. But yeah, a few question marks. But yeah, that is today's video. Slightly shorter than yesterday. Obviously, some big news and some sort of smaller news. The likes of Demirovic. Hopefully that progresses nicely. Hopefully we get some bigger outlets reporting that as well. Not the kicker, not a big outlet, but hopefully we can get the likes of the tier 1 outlets is what I should have said. Reporting it. And obviously Khannouss is dead, I think, completely. I mean, I've got him at a 1 on the signing scale, but I mean, we are hanging on for dear life. I'm like a little mouse hanging on to its last bit of food with Khannouss. It's not going to happen, if we're being honest. And then obviously James Justin as well, which is a bit of a spanner in the works there. But yeah, thanks all for watching as always. If you could help the channel as well. If you've got this point, you've hopefully enjoyed the video, and you could drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, as I said, helps the channel. And also put your comments in below as well, because I forgot to mention in yesterday's video, I will respond to every single comment. There's a few to catch up on yesterday's video that I'm just going to do now, but I will respond to every single one. So if you want you sort of have a conversation in the comments, feel free, I will respond. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all later, everybody. Bye for now. Bye for now.